everybody. I'm Ellen, and this is Truth Teller Tales, and I'm dedicated to interviewing the truth tellers, the determined patriots, the anons, the digital soldiers, all who have been warriors in this most incredible time in our history. And their story deserves to be told because their courage, their insights, and their unwavering faith will be remembered and studied for generations to come. Today, as you can see on the screen, I have a steadfast warrior from Texas who has been in this fight on X for a long, long time, and I can't wait to talk to him. I'm going to bring him on right now. Hey, Kurt, how are you? It's Kurt Swoboda. Do I have it right?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. I
Hey,
appreciate it.
absolutely. Thank you for doing this. So, first, I would love to hear where your niche is on social media and kind of where you've been putting things out there here right now.
Yeah, I mean it started back obviously when it was called Twitter about I would say around 8.5 years ago. I was just on Twitter initially because it was a new exciting app that had up to date news and stuff. And I obviously wasn't listening to the mainstream media at that time and um, I mean, and to this day, I still can't remember how I actually found Q. I think someone made like a post about it, or I saw a couple people make a post, and I got, I was curious, so I just started, looking into it, and then was pretty much hooked from there, and here we are today.
Yeah, and it's been a lot of changes, and I know you've been through different accounts and things like that, and but you're still going strong there. And so I just really feel like people like you have some sort of common threads in your life. So I just find it so fascinating to hear your each of your individual stories.
Right.
So, if we can, I'd love to go back to the beginning for you, where you were born and kind of your family life, and we'll just start from there.
Sure. I was born and raised in Victoria, Texas. It's kind of like they call it the Golden Crescent. It's kind of like right in the middle of South Central Texas. It's 2 hours to Houston, two to Austin, two to San Antonio, an hour and a half to Corpus.
Oh, wow.
Um, Born into a fairly, well off family that had, great Christian values and things of that nature. Um, the reason why I was born in Victoria, my grandfather, he came over on the boat from Czechoslovakia when he was, toddler, basically. They lived in Crosby, Texas. And then when he was a young man, him and his brother were going to start a business in Corpus Christi, and their truck broke down in Victoria. So that's where they were at, and they built their business there called Victoria Machine Works, and it lasted from 1933 to the year 2000, and
Wow.
that's and then my father was obviously in the business. I never was working there. Unfortunately, I'm not mechanically inclined like the rest of my family are. I didn't get that gene, I guess. I'm more of a jack of all trades, master of none. But yeah, like I said, had a great childhood. Was more into played all sports when I was younger, and then when I got about 11 or 12, parents said, "Well, you need to try to focus on one sport." And luckily, focused on tennis instead of basketball because I mean, I'm 6'4", but I'm the short guy in the family.
Oh,
And but but
wow.
but I was a late bloomer. I mean, when my brother was 16, he was already 6'5". I was 5'9" at 16. So yeah, but I was a late bloomer. I grew another 3 inches my freshman year in college, and like I said, I'm 6'4" now. So
So so how many siblings are in your family?
I have an older sister and an older brother. So I'm the
And
baby.
so oh, so you're the okay, so you're the baby of the family and everybody's tall and athletic?
My brother, he is an athletic. My sister was. She played basketball in college as well, and I played, like I said, I played tennis in college in at Virginia Military Institute. Yes,
And so I'm just so curious about tennis because, tennis I think is fantastic. My dad always wanted me to do that too, but it's different from your normal football, baseball, basketball type thing. And so was what did you like about tennis and what made you want to continue with that?
Um, I guess it was because it was you against one other person. There wasn't, um, it was all on you. The chess
Right,
match between you and the other person. You couldn't blame your teammate or whoever for the reason why you lost. I mean, the only reason why you lost because you didn't do as well as you could have, or he was just better than you.
right. Yeah, that definitely is puts more pressure on you, that's for sure,
Right.
And so out of high school you went to VMI
Yes.
on a tennis scholarship. So, I mean, Virginia Military Institute obviously is highly respected. How was that? Obviously very disciplined school.
Very much so, but I mean, I grew up in a very disciplined family, so it wasn't. I mean, it was challenging. Don't get me wrong, but your freshman year, obviously. But I mean, I handled it fine and everything.
So you were a rule follower in that respect? You weren't
Yes,
trying to be
well,
rebel?
yeah, and I mean, basically, I mean, our generation, you listen to your parents, you follow what your parents said. You really didn't question authority. It wasn't till obviously I got older that you started looking at things and like this really doesn't seem quite right. Let me look into this. So
So because I have questions about that too. So VMI and then where did you go after that?
I graduated from Clemson University. That's where I transferred my junior year.
Well, was that a shock? I would think, I mean, they're so different. You kind
Yeah,
of, I mean,
I mean,
did you
yeah,
go
like
wild at Clemson?
no, I mean, I didn't go wild. I mean, I finally got to experience real college life because at BMI, I mean, you only had so many weekends you could even go off campus, even as an upperclassman. So, and then I'm finally I can do basically whatever I wanted. But I mean, like I said, I was already a pretty mature for my age type of person. So I mean, I didn't yeah, I had fun. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, it's not like I went crazy or anything.
Mm-hmm. And so did you enjoy your time at Clemson and did it lead to what you were doing after that?
I mean, yeah, I enjoyed Clemson a lot. Made some good friends in there, and had. I mean, it was. I mean, it's a very small town of like only I think back then 15, 20,000 people, but it was a huge university. I think same amount,
Yeah,
20,000 people. So it had that big college feel, but small town feel. So
yeah,
it was good.
interesting. Yeah. And so afterwards, did your adventure take you to after that?
Obviously, I came back home and was looking for a job, and I've always had a love of music, especially country music. And I had a knack for like when a song would first come out, I could tell, okay, that's going to be like top five song. So, I mean, I didn't know what I was going to do or what. So I moved to Nashville and started, trying to get a job somehow in the music industry and ended up working for an insurance company up there while I was there.
So what part of so had you ever dabbled in music, and are we talking behind the scenes, singing, playing an instrument? What part of music?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm very, very coordinated, but when it comes to these fingers, I'm not. So I can't play an instrument. I can play the piano slightly, but I've always loved to sing. I've written songs and things like that. So yeah.
That's so interesting, because I see that thread of artistry in one way or another,
I mean,
with
it's weird. I mean, a song will come on from like 25, 30 years ago that I haven't heard, and I know the words to all of them. I mean, I probably know the words to probably 10,000 songs. It's crazy what your brain can do.
that is crazy. How is that? That's wild.
You know,
That
when you match music to words, it's amazing how your mind can remember things.
interesting. That's fascinating. And so so all those years leading up to it, did you ever sing, let your singing be known? Were you ever involved in any other type of choirs or anything like that?
No, I was never in a choir or anything. You know, just sang to the radio. You know, while I was driving, and then obviously when I was, um, out of college, when I was single, I did go to karaoke and sang several times through that way. Yeah,
Well, that's just so interesting to me. And so, because I've been a vocal coach for about 25 years, and
I might need your help.
and so that's what's so interesting to me, especially when you went to Nashville. Did you feel the pull of getting some training in that way? I mean, were you
I mean,
uh,
I'm a decent singer. Don't get me wrong. I know I'm not the best. I mean, I know my strengths and everything. I just love music so much. It's a big part of my life that I just, you know, wanted to have that throughout my whole day as I worked, as a job somehow.
and that's fascinating to me, Kurt, because you loved it so much. You moved to Nashville. I
Right.
mean, that's a big thing, right? I mean, so you graduated Clemson, moved back to Texas, and moved all the way to Nashville, because of this. From what you're saying, this love of music. No matter what you ended up doing as a job, you wanted to be surrounded by it. Is that right?
Yes.
I mean, that's pretty strong for you
Yeah.
to take that jump,
Yeah. I
you
mean,
know?
I didn't know a single person, didn't know no one. I mean, yeah.
And so when you were actually there, w- did it fill your cup like you thought it would? Did you go to those honky tonks and
Oh, I
different
mean,
things,
it
or how?
was, yeah. I mean, the great thing is, like the company I worked for, it was CNA Insurance, and it was mostly, young people, under the age 30. So, I mean, I had a huge group of friends. So, yeah, we were always going out doing things downtown, or, we golfed on the weekends, and we just, yeah, it was a great experience, in my youth. Yeah.
And that's the time to do it, right?
Right.
With all of that. And so how long would you say that you stayed there?
I was there about 2.5 years.
And then where'd you go from there?
Then I came back home.
Mhm. And then you settled into a couple other jobs?
Yes.
And then what would you say of the things that you did that you found was the most interesting to you and the most motivating to you when you, came back home and started looking for job and work to do?
What job you said?
Yeah. Yeah. What you
Uh,
enjoyed the most and what motivated you the most?
I mean, to be honest with you, the first few years after I came back, I was still, you know, somewhat struggling on really what I wanted to do and what I, needed to do. I mean, like I said, I mean, I've always, had a very high Q in grades. I mean, I could have went to college on an academic scholarship as well. Um, I mean, I was on the dean's list and all these things. I even had, when I was at VMI after my freshman year, the Naval Academy even sent me a letter, wanted me to transfer there
Wow.
and be on their test. And I'm like, I already went through, the initial freshman year at VMI, and I was like, I'm not going to do that again. So,
Right.
uh, Yeah, I mean, it's just something I struggled early on in my career about what I really wanted to do. And I kind of hopped from job to job for, I'd stay for 6 months to a year and then, okay, I'm not really crazy about this. Let's do something else. Yeah, I really didn't get solidified until, you know, I got married.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get married until I was 31, and I married a woman. She was 2 years older than me. Lived in a little town 45 miles north of Hallettsville, and she had um, her and her husband had passed away in a car accident,
Oh, wow.
and she had a 6 year old and a 3 year old. And so when we got married, I was an instant dad right away.
Wow.
So, and then we had one child together, and we were married for 19 years. And then we got divorced about a year and a half ago. And yeah,
That's so interesting. So it was a blended family for sure, right?
yeah.
Um,
But
and
I always called them my kids. I never called them my stepkids because there was no other father there but me, and they always called me dad, and still do to this day. And it's yeah,
that's so fantastic. And so a year and a half ago, obviously things really must have changed for you then.
yeah. I mean they changed for a while, but I mean I really don't want to discuss all that type of stuff.
You definitely don't need to discuss any of that. And so during what part of your journey when you were playing tennis and VMI, Clemson, Nashville, when would you say that you started thinking about things in our world, right? That most people just don't even think about that you started to question. And was there a turning moment for you, or did it gradually happen where you started questioning what was happening in
I
the world?
I guess it was about, let's see, 2008, about 2004 or five. I started just noticing things. Obviously, at that time, I was married for, gotten married and, into, an established, setting to where I was more aware of, I was financially stable, family stable. So I had time to look around and see things differently. And I started to, notice things that, just didn't quite add up. And then when Obama came into office, and then when I started seeing the things that were happening, then that was kind of the trigger that said, yeah, these things, they're just not right.
So that presidency basically is where you started to see things. But what's fascinating to me, Kurt, is so many people during that time couldn't see any of what you were questioning about, right? I
Right.
mean, and I mean, absolutely, positively would never question him or anything about that presidency. And so, why do you think? I mean, were there other people around you that questioned? Were you the only one? I mean, why do you think you had the eyes to see that things were just not right?
Well, I mean, my father, he was, obviously a pretty influential person in the community and around. And, he kind of told me, if Obama gets in there, things are really going to change and not for the better for what, this world's going to turn into. And that's, you know, he's obviously the person, obviously, that I looked up to. And it's funny. And you have your picture of Abraham Lincoln, and people, they don't believe me when I tell them till I show them a picture. But my father, he was 6'5", very skinny, and he looked exactly like Abraham Lincoln. I'm not kidding you. I mean, I don't know if I can.
Wow.
I don't know if I can pull it up my phone and show it on the screen or something, but
Yeah,
um,
that would be so cool if it works. I don't know if it will work,
yeah.
but
Let me see if I can do it. But yeah, I remember
that's
a time in church. The preacher was talking about Abraham Lincoln. Like everybody in the aisle just kind of looked at my dad.
well, that's why we connected, Kurt, obviously, with that. I mean, that's so amazing. And I can see, oh my goodness gracious. He did his beard like that, like Abraham Lincoln too.
Exact. In his younger days, yeah. When he was in his 60s, yeah, he changed it to a mustache. But yeah,
OMG, I love that. I love that. Oh, so and so he was the one that's so cool too that he was the one that really um could see as well and his insights he passed on to you.
right.
I love that. And so did your brother and sister also take heed with did you all have kind of the same way of thinking about things?
Yeah, I know my brother did for sure. I never really, I guess, asked those questions about my sister, but I'm pretty much think she's somewhat aware, maybe not as deep as he and I are.
Mhm. And so when did you start and how long is your dad still here? Or did he pass?
He unfortunately he passed in an accident back in 2009, so he's
Oh,
been gone a long time.
wow.
Yeah.
So that was a shocking passing,
Yes.
obviously. Um, which I'm sure was very, very difficult. And so once he was gone, you still do you think your curiosity about things happening grew? Or was it
Oh yeah,
just a
yeah,
continual?
yeah. Most definitely because 2009. So that's basically a year into Obama's presidency, and I was you know digging, researching more and more at that. I
Mhm.
mean, not as much as obviously when Q came along, but I mean, I was still just questioning why is this happening? Why is that happening? It doesn't. It's not right. We're being
Yeah.
controlled.
So so when did you, besides your studying and researching and questioning, then when did you take the move to get onto X, or was that your first social media where you started to uh interact?
I mean, I was only on Facebook, and basically I was on that because of most of my extended family was far out, spread out. So it was just a way to just keep up with what they were doing and how things were. But I can't even tell you who said you need to look into Twitter. But obviously I did because
Yeah,
yeah, I was hooked pretty much from the beginning, just because the amount of information and the quickness of the information, and it wasn't you know you know structured information by some entity. It was just
right,
people's own you know validations and things that they have seen.
right. And then at some point you were taken off?
Oh yes, yeah. I mean, like I said, I think it was 4 counts. I was taken off. I mean, back then when Jack was on, I mean, we had to. I mean, you started to learn like you would spell deep state like D333P. You wouldn't spell deep, and if you said certain words or things, yeah, bloop, you'd be gone for a month or two. Then you come back on, and then they finally, you know, I tried like every other month up, can't get back on, can't get back on. Yeah.
Was this before or after the pandemic?
So I think that was around, no, it was during COVID because I made one of my biggest posts was, I made a post that, is the COVID, the Trump card because it exposes, like the MSM lies, it exposes, the international control over, the countries, exposes, you know, all types of different things. And it was maybe, if I had to guess, I wasn't sure, probably that summer when pretty much most of the major anon accounts just poof, went away.
So it was all during that time, but then you never got your original accounts back. You just had to
No,
create new accounts,
I never got my original. And I mean, and my current account now is bigger than any of those first accounts. Yeah.
which is very cool. And would you say, I mean, during that time, what things motivated you the most to look into? I know people have their motivation, some of the medical tyranny, some of the the water, the politics, the bankers. It's everybody kind of has their area that really motivated them to look into. Was there an area that you really dove into more than others?
I mean, I was actually kind of just an all in. It didn't really matter which subject. I mean, obviously, the money part of it, may have motivated me a little bit more because, basically they were, stealing from us and making us have to live lives that, were so much more stressful and compared to what, our parents did, where, I mean, like you said, you had to have two people working just to survive. And, back in the day, the 70s and 80s, it was just, your father working, your mother stayed home with the kids. And that was not the point, and how it just totally changed the family dynamics, the structure. And yeah. And then obviously the religious spiritual side of it, because I'm very spiritual person in that realm. Um,
Well,
so
I'd love to hear about that, Kurt, because I definitely see the people that I'm starting to talk to. I mean, they all have things that are the same, many things that are different, but it's the spirituality that is always there. And would you say, because you said you were, you know, uh, uh, raised with a Christian faith, but would you say that that grew, that changed? I mean, tell me that story of your spirituality.
I mean, it's grown with me obviously over the years. And the more I realize, I mean, just pick a number. We'll just say 17. I mean,
To-
do you think God wants us to have 17 different religions? No. I mean, every religion is basically okay. We're going to take this part out of the Bible because that's what we're going to cling to. No, we're going to take this. We're going to take that, and they all then mold their religion based on their things that they believe out of the Bible instead of just looking at it as a whole and trying to learn, the lessons and things that He wanted us to know. And you know, going to church has nothing to do about you being a religious spiritual person, because there's people that just go to church just so they're seen, so their peers think, oh yeah, they're nice religious people, I see them in church all the time. It means nothing. It means nothing, and the only thing that matters is your personal relationship with God and Jesus, in your heart and soul. That's the only thing that matters. I mean, you don't, I mean, what did they do before we even had churches way back when? I mean, it was just you
Yeah.
know it's all about control. And the Catholic religion, which is what my ex-wife was, which I went to for 19 years, that I hated. It's totally about control. um I remember I asked the pastor one time. I said, "Where in the Bible does it say we can't eat meat on Friday?" And he, yeah, it's not in there, is it? So why is that? I mean, it's you know, I mean, like I said, even though being a Christian and religion is they say a good thing to be, it's still a way that they control us to limit our total spirituality to what we really could be if we you know dove in and tried to learn as much as possible and look more inward of ourselves, who God made us as an authentic person of who we are, instead of what they say we need to be.
Absolutely. And because I feel the same, but don't you think, because with me, don't you think what you just said so beautifully has become stronger and grown more in your way of thinking? Because it really has for me, that one-on-one faith with God without having to have a middle person per se.
Right.
Does that grown as time's gone on has gone on
Oh,
for you?
for sure. Each and every day. I mean, each day I try to be a better person and a better, you know, Christian than I was the day before.
Hmm. Which is which is all we can do, right?
I mean, that's all we can do. I mean, we're still gonna slip and fall because we're humans. We're imperfect, but that doesn't mean you have to, give up and stay in that negative light. I mean, positivity, being a positive person and finding the positive in whatever negative situation is always what the theme of what I think God wants us to be, because the never give up attitude. I mean, we've all had our struggles through life, but even though we think, why is this happening to me, or why did God do this to me, or whatever, it's a lesson that helps you grow more, because I mean, the more hard things you go through, I think you become stronger as a person and stronger in faith and spirituality.
I couldn't agree with you more. And here's what's interesting, and what you said made me think of something. You playing tennis, what you said was you enjoyed that because it was just you. You couldn't blame anybody else. And I think, we are in a society now where we're told we're supposed to be victims. And um, instead of looking within ourselves, we end up blaming other people because that's easier. But what you just said is the opposite of that. We are supposed to take responsibility for ourselves and have that inner will and knowledge and responsibility to be good people and try to do good every day. But I just love the fact that even as a kid playing tennis, you innately were that guy
Right. I mean, because
because you
I
wanted
mean,
that
that's how
support.
my father raised me. He just, if you're going to do something, you're going to do it right the first time. You're going to be a man of integrity. You're going to, if you say whatever you say, you're going to do, you know.
Absolutely. And that's wonderful you had that from your dad, who looked like Abraham Lincoln. Woo! And and also had that characteristic. I mean, how phenomenal is that? And you were able to take that, throughout this whole process. And it's always fascinating to me, Kurt, someone like you, who is such, I can tell, is such a good guy and just a good man, and you want to do what's right. Yet, because you question things and hold certain beliefs, are vilified by others that just don't happen to want to see it. And I admire you for that. And that's what amazes me during these times, as we people will reflect back in many years to come, that it was really good people, really good people, not these terrible people that we've been called, who just can see what is happening and basically wants good for everybody.
Right. I
And
mean, that's all we hope for. I mean, the last thing I pray every night in my prayer is that every day more and more people follow the golden rule, because once everyone does, it'll be heaven on earth.
well, I can't think of anything better than to end it with that, because that's so true. And I just think you're awesome, and I think there are many Americans like you who are just good, wonderful men, and want to do good, have strong faith, and want what's best for everybody. And but thanks for you for always being in the fight, and for um, being a presence in your bubble, but also having a presence on social media during these most incredible times. So thank you again, Kurt, for being with me and for sharing your personal stories. I know it's not always fun when you don't want to have to share that, but I think it's just so important, because people can see you and your goodness, and people like you all over the world, um, who just want to do good for others.
Thank you.
So thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it, and hopefully we'll talk again soon. And just keep doing what you're doing, and with your faith, and the best is yet to come, right?
Exactly.
All right, take care of yourself. Thank you, Kurt, so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.